Hi, friends. Welcome to Getting Your Real Estate Life Together. I'm Tracy Hicks with All Things Real Estate. And today I have my friend Lindsey Culver. Welcome, Lindsey.
Hi.
Okay, so this is kind of a quick, funny story. Lindsey and I have known each other for quite some time. Women's Council, right?
5. Women's Council, 15 years, maybe 12
Yeah,
years.
I
Long time.
think so.
Long time.
Right. And then, obviously no events for a while. And then we just had the Women's Council pop up a couple of weeks ago. And you were talking about the podcast. I can't remember. Was it Chelsea that you were listening to no, she wrote the book. I think it was Rebecca.
Oh, Donatelli.
Yes.
Rebecca
Rebecca.
Donatelli.
Okay.
Oh,
So
rock star.
yes. And I was like, girl, you need to be on the podcast. And you were like, oh no, I've never done a podcast before. I was like, come on. And you're like, okay, something new. I'm going to try something new. And then here you are.
Yes.
Okay. So here you are with us, Lindsey. I'm glad that you did the podcast and did something new, right?
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. So Women's Council, you are a huge part of the real estate community. Not only are you doing Women's Council, but you're also doing some stuff on the state level. So I kind of want to start with that because I know it's a big part of who you are as a realtor and, your realtor community. So tell us what you're doing on the state level and kind of why you got into that and why it's important to you.
Oof, that's a big one. Okay. Well, the catalyst is really Women's Council. So that's my foundation. I was just a young pup. I was like 24 years old when I joined real estate.
Oh, wow.
And I know I was a baby.
I
And
didn't even know that.
Yeah. Do you know Betty Jung? She's, I think, in Remax. She's
Yep.
been around all the time. I'm at a convention and she's like, I go, I'm just this little fish out of water. I'm like, what did I do? And she's like, you need to join Women's Council. And I was like, okay. Like I literally didn't know what to do. And I joined Women's Council and they just all embraced me and was like, oh, you can do this. And I'm like, I don't know. I just graduated college and I don't know what to do, but I really love customer service and I love people. So that's kind of like how I kind of got my feet wet in the Women's Council role, and then kept climbing the ranks and became like a local president and then kind of worked my way up. And then I was like, hey, I could do this stuff at the state and local level. So with PMAR and with, now we say Oregon Realtors, not OAR anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So then at the state level, I got involved at a couple of committees. I'm currently the professional development chair for 2021.
Yay.
Which is kind of a big deal. It's been great. And that's really, focusing on individual, like agents, like how can we better ourselves in our industry, right? Like how can we do better? And it's education, it's giving back to the community. It's a multitude of things. And it's really near and dear for me. So I'm really grateful that I was able to get that role to be the chair because it's been wonderful this year. And we've kind of had a pivot, right? Because we haven't really met in person.
Right.
So we got to do everything kind of via Zoom. So that's been interesting.
Yeah, totally. Now you were with YPN too, right?
Yep. So I was a YPN chair. YPN, for everybody that doesn't know, is Young Professional Network. So you don't have to be young. It's young at heart. There's no discrimination regarding age. We welcome everybody. It was actually originally started. So the average age, I believe, for a realtor is 56, 55. It fluctuates. And so at the national level, they were trying to figure out how can we replace ourselves? We're concerned. And so they had started Young Professional Network and just kind of started that nationally and then locally. And so I became involved and I love it. It's a great stepping stone as well for somebody who's kind of getting their feet wet, trying to figure out, well, I really want to get involved and better my business and learn some skills, but I also need to develop and harness some of those things. And that's what YPN does as well.
Right. And what I love about Portland's, we're just a little different in Portland. Like when you see Women's Council and YPN in other states, it's really, really huge. But in Oregon, we're just a little bit different. We're not that much into not committees, but like organizations like this as much as other places are. But we're also tight knit. And I think that one of the things that, because, you get, I don't want to say sucked in, but usually, somebody invites you to come to a Women's Council meeting and then you become a secretary or, you become a part of it. And what drew me to it was the national stuff because I had never really, because Portland and I don't know, just I guess my way of thinking, I never really thought on the national level. I had never been to a national realtor conference or any of that stuff. So Women's Council opens that up for you where you see your business in a different light. Like it's much bigger than just you and much bigger than just your city that you're in. And so I really love that part and like meeting people from other states that are on Women's Council or doing those things for different reasons, but just kind of hearing about that. So I love that about all of these things that you're doing and the changes that you're making. And you get to go and meet people and hear what they're doing and then bring that back to us and, implement new ideas and things that other people are doing that are working. Like when's the last time you traveled for something? Cause did you just come back or you headed out?
Yep. I was just actually for a CRS convention in Tahoe, Lake Tahoe. And that was incredible and epic as well.
Right, right. Okay, so with CRS, explain that a little bit and kind of talk about why you're doing that and what it is for people that may not know what that is.
Sure. CRS is a designation that stands for Certified Residential Specialist, and it's through the RRC, which is the Residential Real Estate Council. It's a little confusing. The one thing I didn't know when I was a young pup was that you could be part of the Residential Real Estate Council and not have to have your designation. The designation is actually really difficult to get. It's like either 10-year program or you have to sell a certain amount of homes. It's only 3% of realtors have it.
Oh,
So there out
wow.
of the 1.5 million agents or realtors that we have in the nation, only 3% have this designation. So it's really prestigious, I think.
Yeah.
But it's cool because you could still attend the conferences and you could still belong to RRC and kind of get immersed with these people and get these great ideas. And so I got tapped on the shoulder like 3 years ago. And my friend Liz Smith, who's over in Missouri, was like, Lindsey, please get your designation. I don't know why you're not getting it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's because I didn't know, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
you don't know what you don't know. And
Exactly.
so anywho, so I got immersed in that and I was really grateful. And it was such an awesome, awesome convention. I learned a ton.
I mean, aside from professional development, which is always a really good reason to get into these kinds of things, there's also something about the camaraderie. And I talk a lot about realtor community and that you need people around you that do what you do and that understand the business because we're just different people. We have different, stresses. We have people's lives, that we have in our hands when it's their biggest purchase. So is that your realtor community? Is that, an important part? And then also, locally, how it's like a little realtor family, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think I've built some really amazing relationships over the years and some really strong friends. I mean, I could like name drop, like I know there's so many like Carrie Hartnett and Rochelle Yukich. I mean, there's many of you and I know someone's gonna be like, you didn't say my name, but like really there's
Everyone.
I love you all. Just over the years, I've built some strong relationships, but the other component is the referrals, right? Like you have these referrals that you're potentially bringing back and people, believe it or not, I think people are watching you when you don't think they're watching you on social media. They're watching you in these conferences. They're like checking you out like, oh, is she a good fit for my brand? Right? When you refer somebody, that's your brand.
Totally.
So, depending on who you want to work with, I think that's important to remind yourself that you can't fit everybody, right? We're all different. We work differently. And I wish I would have learned that early on. So anybody that's listening that's new, it's really important for you to feel good about yourself and be in your own skin and not feel like you have to fit in every single different mold.
Right.
So like that was really a lesson for me to learn like, okay, Lindsey, like that person just doesn't work. You don't mesh well and that's okay. Like that's
Totally.
okay.
And we talked about this a little bit too prior, but it comes up I think for me all the time because I 1000% agree. You have your tribe, you have your people, and you can't buy or sell a house to every single person. So don't try to do that. Niche it down as far as you can and be really, really good at that. And what you're really, really good at is being yourself and being who you are and hobbies and family, just all that stuff. You
Yeah.
can align with enough people to have a really great, abundant business. And I think that you to me, I think that's what I think about when I think about you. And you do so much for giving back to the community. And I think that, you bring all these great ideas back and then you implement them in your business as well. And you share it with all of the Portland realtor community as well. But I definitely want to talk about some of the stuff that you do. I know on social media, I love watching you do the street. It's not called the street cleanup, but you have your own little sign out in the street where you have. Okay, tell me about it because
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
totally
fair enough.
butchering it.
So it's called Adopt a Highway, technically,
Yes.
or Adopt a Road program. We're part of actually two of them because originally we live in Tigard, Oregon, and then there's Washington County. And so we decided to adopt Washington County, the road right by our house, which is really busy. And it's on the way to Mountainside High School, which, everybody throws their Dutch bros and stuff like that.
Right.
Terrible. Terrible. And then we decided to go kind of more micro and adopt a Tigard, just a local street off of Southwest 135th. And we do that typically 2 to 3 times a year. COVID kind of, they like kiboshed it last year and said, nope, we're not doing it. Like
Yeah.
safety first. So we didn't get to do anything, but we just did one about a month ago, I think. We did Southwest 131st. And that's great. And it's all about giving back, right? Like I'm a firm believer of what you give, you shall receive. And that information that we're bringing out, like that we're helping others, that's really important to me. Like can I talk about that now?
Yes, please
Okay.
talk about all of it.
So in this real estate world too, we have ups and downs. And that's the other thing I'd like to, if there's anybody out there, like it's okay to not be okay. Like this is a really hard industry sometimes. Okay. And sometimes you are sad and sometimes you're angry and sometimes it's hard. And that's again relying on your tribe, your people. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I just was like having a moment and I just was like, what is wrong? Like, I don't know. And my business is going well. So it has nothing monetarily or business wise. It's just heavy right now. We have
Right.
a lot in this world that we're dealing with. And
Right.
it's heavy.
It
And so
is.
I just was like, I feel like I'm not doing enough or I need to do something more. And so I created this project Golden Rule. And Project Golden Rule is basically like giving back to the community, whether it be on like a micro level or a macro level. And I still don't really know what it all means, but like I decided to deliver sandwiches to my friend and client who's a nurse over at Providence because they're just burnt out. They are so burnt out with the whole COVID thing and everything. So I delivered like 30 sandwiches and chips and drinks and stuff. And I delivered it to them and it was just amazing. I had so much I was like crying because it just felt so good. Right. Like, and they are appreciative because they're like, wow, there is good in this universe. And so it's like this reciprocalness. And so Project Golden Rule, like I want to do more of those philanthropic things. So I had posted that on social media. I hadn't gotten any like feedback like, hey, you should do this or this. So I'm hoping that anybody that's listening to this podcast or Trace, if you have any cool ideas, like, I just want to try and make our world a better place as best I can. Obviously, financially, like I don't have like millions of dollars to like buy everybody a house, but
Hey, at some point, I mean, you're on the track, girl. Like, and that's what I love too is, first of all, you got to start somewhere, right? And what I love that I just heard you say is that you were feeling a certain type of way and you were in a place and doing something for somebody else got you out of that slump and you got to bring a little bit of happiness to somebody else who was probably feeling the same way that you were, but maybe hadn't said anything. And so, obviously mental health is more of a topic now than it used to be in the past, especially in real estate. Like you do not wear your heart on your sleeve back in the day in real estate because you don't want to show your cards, But nowadays, I think because people are working with their tribes, I think you can be a little more human. And I think that is really important, especially in our industry. And I love seeing that change. Like it's needed. And I think all of us in the realtor community have done that. And I think people need to recognize that you were a part of that. And it's super important. So you just literally hit the nail on the head by doing a simple thing, girl sandwiches, and then you just somebody doing something nice for somebody is going to make you feel better. Not only you, but them. So I love that you did that. And I also love that you're talking about it on the ground level. Watch, I'm going to have you back on in a year or two and it's going to have taken off. It's going to have formed a life of its own. You don't know where it's going to go right now, but it's going to go somewhere. And I can't wait. I love that about you too. You're a starter. And that's what, half the battle, just getting it going, just doing something. Right.
truth.
Okay. So the other thing I want to make sure that we talk about, I want to go back to one thing that I took a note on. When we talk about like all of these realtor, like the WCR and, being on committees and boards and things like that, you talked about referrals. I always kind of forget to talk about that because referral businesses do take a little bit of work. Like you have to work that. Do you have a certain system or do you do something in a way that you can make sure that you're actually referring it out and keeping track, or how much of that business, from other realtors is a part of your business?
Right. So I would say the best person, honestly, is Carrie Hartnett. She is killer at
He
that.
is a
Like that is
referral machine.
like I love referrals. She's really done a great job. So if anybody out there knows Carrie Hartnett or Google Carrie, give her a call. She's
Yes.
really good at that. Because I would say for me, I definitely have gotten some, but she is the guru at that. But how I keep in touch with those people is I don't like pass out like my business cards to every single person, right? Like
Right.
I'm very like relationship based. So if I'm at a table with like 8 people, I'm cordial, I'm very polite with all of them, but I may connect with like one or two. And so that's how I'm sort of building my business. Like, okay, and then we'll exchange phone numbers and then I'll like text them and connect that way. I was working with one of my marketing people to try and do like a video. So I have all these cards from CRS. And so what I'm going to do is basically email them a video of me just being me, right? Lindsay. And then flipping in a couple like Pacific Northwest, like the mountains, and then downtown, and then a couple like food places. Cause everybody's like, oh, you guys are known for your food. And I was like, I love me my food. Like my thing. And so I think just showing that piece, but not too long, right? Just a 35, maybe a minute clip and just being me, I think is going to be kind of unique. I have never done that before. So it'll be kind of nice to see how that translates and someone kind of sees the face to face.
Yeah. I love realtor commercials. I think we need to do it more often. We kind of did one at the store and he does, listing videos for realtors. And one of the things that I love seeing as a kind of a consumer, because I don't realtor anymore, but I love it when there is a video of a house and the realtor is walking through and talking about the house. Like it's on a tour, but they can be like, this is my favorite part of the house, or these floor, like tell little stories about the house. I love that part of it. So I think realtors should all have a little mini commercial. You're going to find a million different ways that you can use it. Hire a professional, spend a little bit of money on it, and use it as often as you can. Put it wherever, don't just keep putting it on social media. But I love that you said that you want to send it out to them because you want something memorable, people to remember you by. If they think of Portland, you want them to think of you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the other thing that we said we needed to talk about, or that I said that I wanted to talk about with you, is you partner your business with your husband. And I know a lot of agents, either not a lot, other agents do it, but I know that I always see on groups like people thinking, I'm going to bring my husband into my business, or my wife and I are, getting ready to partner and like asking for advice and things like that. How long have you guys been doing your business partnership?
Together. Okay. So recap, 15 years in myself, he's been in 9 years. We partnered up in 2015. So
Okay.
what, 6 years now? What was happening was we were separate, paying separate desk fees, right?
Yep.
And because my
Double.
big thing was everybody's like, oh my gosh, like if you work with your partner, like you're gonna get a divorce or like things are gonna happen. And I was like, Noah, we're not going to be a partnership. You're going to be on your own and I'm going to be on my own. But what was happening was we were still helping each other out. Right. And
Right.
like answering questions. And then we were paying the same debt, like a double desk fee.
Yeah.
And then our clients were kind of confused, right? Like, cause they're like, oh,
Oh,
well,
right.
there's Noah. And so I think finally we're just like, this makes literally no sense. Let's just partner up. And I think when you have distinct roles, with each other, like when you say, okay, so Noah's the listing agent, like that's his role and he's the negotiator. And then I am like, I meet everybody and I'm the lover and the peacemaker. And like, that's like my role and like paperwork and some other stuff like that, marketing. So I think as long as you have those like defined roles, that's really good. I will say to people out there, we definitely commingle in the sense at night, like we're talking about stuff and that makes it hard sometimes, right? Because
Turning
we're
it
trying
off.
to, yeah, where do you turn it off? And I think that's, I mean, is that it? I think on one of your questions, it's like, what's an area of opportunity? It's like, well, probably just like more balance. Like, I think a lot of agents would say, finding more balance. Like, how can we turn it off
Yep.
and not do real estate?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and you have well, they're not so little anymore, but you've kiddos too that obviously keep you guys busy, and I think what I love about kids in real estate is that they force their parents to not be doing real estate all day long 24/7. So, you're really involved with your kids and, some of the and you're also a volleyball are you still coaching or how are you involved in volleyball right now?
no, I actually let that go a couple years ago, which was probably for the best. If anybody hasn't noticed, I like to put my hands in a bunch of different pots, and like almost test myself. But it comes from contribution, right? It comes from trying to make a difference in the community and just helping. So I had to let that one go. But then I coached her basketball when she was playing basketball. So it's like you trade one for another, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's all good, you know.
But it's also figuring out too, like, it's a juggling act and how many balls can you keep up in the air at the same time, and clearly not you can't do all of them, but I do think it's important, and I think it's also natural that people just try all the things, and then some things naturally fall off, and then some things become a priority, and then you see there. But again, it's trying it and starting things and figuring that part out, and I'm a big proponent of failure. Like, I learned so much stuff by failing and messing up and like, "Oh, shit, I'm not doing that again," or, it's just a part of entrepreneurship, it's a part of business. And I'm not saying with real estate, obviously, we're not doing that with clients' houses and things like that, but marketing and trying and, volunteering and spreading yourself too thin and figuring out which parts you can really do and the things that work for you. And so I know that you kind of talked a little bit about, balance and giving back and getting back. How are you feeling right now with everything in terms of your business and balancing? Because is it 18 years you've been a realtor?
15.
15. So it's a long time, but I also think there's a shift in that 15 to 18-year mark where it's like, okay, I've been doing this a long time and kind of refreshing. And I know you probably you keep yourself busy with like the women's council and things like that. But is there anything else that you do in your business life that keep you loving real estate?
Yeah. So I think it's really, and this is again the yin and the yang in my relationship with my husband, is that for so long I was always like, okay, we got to save, we got to make sure we have enough for the future and do this, and like, no, we shouldn't do vacations and all this stuff. And he's so good about like, no, like we need to do a family vacation like once a year and like all these things. Again, scratch last year, because last year was, nobody really did anything. But like that's been great, is to make sure that we at least do once a year. We were going to Hawaii. That was really important for us to kind of just reset, refresh. And then Rochelle and I have gone to the beach multiple times to kind of just reset our brain and also kind of talk about our business, but also like have these like girl time moments. And I think that's, again, for me, like it's really important to surround yourself with like-minded people and have that reset and have that ability to be able to just kind of bounce ideas off each other. Again, this is a very, some people would say cutthroat business. I don't know. I mean, you could work like a dog for 6 months with a client and then they leave you. And so it's like, you got to make sure that you have the support system, or that you're farming your crop, so to speak, right? And other people, so you're not just reliant on that one client. It's yeah. So as far as like making sure I'm taking care of myself, yeah. So that would be doing some vacations. We're big concert junkies. And so, now that concerts are coming back, well, maybe they're actually not coming back, but as long as you're wearing a mask, you're great. That's what we're really excited about, getting back outside and getting into concerts.
Yeah,
So
totally. And also too, I love that you said that going on a girls trip with another realtor, I think is awesome because you can talk about real estate. You can relax and talk about real estate. And I think those are when the best ideas come up, is when you're not stressing out to figure something out, but when you're just talking about, business. And then the person that you're there with could be like, "Oh, have you thought about doing this?" Or "Here's a great idea," or "I tried this," but still having a glass of wine and going to dinner and, casually talking about real estate rather than it being like a stressful, high pressure, I got to figure something out type of thing. And so I love that recommendation, and going, at least for a day or two, it's like a mini retreat. You're getting two things out of it. You're working on business, but you're also working on yourself personally and taking a break ish, because realtors have a really hard time taking a break. And when you go out of town, that's when all the business comes. So take more vacations, people.
I literally got 4 in escrow, Trace, like literally when I was at that convention last week. It was
Every time it happens. I mean, you always hear a realtor, they're like, oh, I need more listings. I think I'll take a vacation or what. I mean, it literally happens that way every single time. And because realtors are great, jugglers, they make it happen. They figure it out. Like with COVID, that was one of the things everybody's like, oh my gosh, real estate and COVID. I was like, are you kidding me? Realtors got this. Like they deal with this stuff. This is nothing. I mean, not, what I'm saying? Like the actual pivoting and the changing, like realtors figure this out. They do it all day, every day.
Can I briefly, I forgot to ask or talk about just making sure, like, if there is new people listening to, like, really honing in on your systems. Like, that's the other thing when I'm with my girlfriends, like, we'll bounce ideas off each other and, like, so are you using mailers? Like, are you dripping on your people every month? Or are you sending pop buys? And if people don't know what a pop buy is, it's like a cute little item of value that basically just has you become top of mind, right? So I think just really being calculated and making sure that you have, even if it's on a piece of paper and it says January, I'm going to send a mailer, I'm going to do a pop by, February, you really need to have that written down. If I could give any advice, it's like you guys need to write that stuff down, what you're doing, because if you don't do it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
You won't. I know it.
And don't do stuff that you don't want to do. Do the stuff that you like, because you're going to do that.
Yeah,
Instead of the
exactly.
crap you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. And you holding yourself accountable. Like that was one of my problems as a realtor. I never had systems. I never wrote stuff down. So I'm always like, take my failures and learn from them and like have that stuff in place now. If you have been a realtor for 10 years and you don't have a CRM or something, like do something now so that you can organize that. Because realtors, what they do is they try to market when they're not busy, and you need to be marketing all the time, but also when you are busy so that there is no non-busy time, right? You got to keep it going.
100%.
Okay. So we'll end it with a couple of things that you do with your marketing. I mean, obviously the volunteering stuff, you put that on social media and that's a big part of your life and your marketing. What are some of the other things that you consistently do in your business?
Yes. So we mail to our clients every month, and that's our sphere. We also will do pop buys. I wish I could say that I did pop buys consistently every 2 months. It is a little bit of a hit or miss right now. I'm actually working on one right now with like a water bottle and like a cute, can you see it's like a lemonade thing. And it's just basically going to be like, thinking of you and, hydrate in the summer or something, but we're almost towards the end of summer and it was supposed to be about the beginning. So it happens, that's life. But as long as you actually can commit to, okay, well, I can't do it this week, but I'm going to do it next week. That's really important. So we do those two things. And then sometimes it's just really, you have to listen to your intuition. This might be going a little, whoo, but like,
I love woo woo.
woo woo, yeah. But like for me, like I sometimes will have this really strange like inkling, like I need to reach out and call that person or I need to text them. And I literally will do that. And they're like, I was just about to call you, or thank you for reaching out. I have a best friend that's looking into real estate. Like it's just very like strange how that stuff happens. So I think you need to listen to your heart, or there's cues on social media. Maybe somebody is not feeling their best, or you want to send them flowers, or you stop by, it's being caring, but also, I don't want to say methodical because I don't want it to seem disingenuous, but you're taking care of that person and planting your crop and harvesting that maybe, down the road they might sell. So that's kind of how I live my life. It's like just really just trying to be mindful of others, and that's kind of how we do it for our marketing.
Yeah. And you want to be organic and you want to do
Yeah.
the stuff that you connect with all of your clients in different ways, but they know who you are as a person. And, you also, I think that's awesome when realtors, like if you have a hobby or you crochet or something, and then you give them something or you can, or, whatever it is, and you give them something that is a part of your life, they love that stuff. And like, who doesn't? I mean,
Totally.
connection is what we all want in real estate. I think it's probably one of the most important things that you need to do. And sometimes we have to stop and pause and think about that. And so when you're thinking about a pop buy or what is it that I'm going to do for my clients, if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, think about the things that you love and then share that with them. Maybe they have pets or whatever it is, but those connections, you're with them, you're showing houses, you spent so much time with them. They know you as a person and what your family life is like and who you are. And so there's nothing wrong with doing the things that you love and sharing that with them.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, hey, like remembering, oh, their favorite drink is like a vanilla latte. So next time you are at the home inspection, here's your vanilla latte. It's just
Exactly.
kind of just really thinking about that person and being mindful. I forgot about my pies though, too. I want to drop that in there. So I do an annual pie like in November and for Thanksgiving. And we actually hand deliver them. So we're up to like 95 pies right now, which everybody is probably thinking you guys are crazy that you deliver because there's a lot of agents that just have people pick it up. But our big thing is no, we're going to deliver. And I have like my aunt and my uncle and my husband, myself and a lender and this. So we have a lot of hands that are delivering, but that's kind of our like thing. Like people look forward to it. They're like, oh, is the pie? Like which Sherry's pie am I going to get this year? Am I getting the
Right.
rhubarb or the, chocolate peanut butter? And it's just cool. Like that is nice to know, like people look forward to that stuff. So
Yeah, totally. And you enjoy doing it. So once again, you've just proven that the stuff that you like to do, and obviously, sometimes, yeah, it can be stressful and organizing and figuring it out and monetarily, making things work for you. But again, doing the stuff that you like doing is the stuff that you're actually going to do. And so I love that about realtors. And I love it when they stop and think about it for a minute, like, okay, what can I really, the other thing is though, that realtors will spend months and months and months planning and
mhm,
never do it. So spend less time planning and more time doing and come
exactly.
up with a system that works for you.
Yes. Speaking of system, I'm like interjecting. I don't know if
Yes.
that's
No, please
appropriate.
do.
The other thing, I'm like I said, 15 years in, I just became an S corp this year, Trace. And
What?
which is, I know it's sad, it's
Congrats.
shocking, but at least I did it, right? Like I finally said, stop thinking about it and do it. And so for everybody out there, like you need to run this as a business. Like this is a business. This isn't a hobby. This is something legit. Like you need to open up a business account. You need to obviously talk to your accountant.
Bookkeeper. Have
I'm
a
not giving,
bookkeeper.
I'm not giving legal advice here. I'm
Right.
just
Have a
trying to help.
tax accountant. Like have those people in your corner. They're your team.
They are your team, but you really need to think about treating it like a business and opening up a business account. And if anybody has questions out there, I would love to help you because I'm super passionate about it. Like I actually might think about teaching on it, Tracy. Like I haven't even
I
talked to
love
you about
that.
that. I just want people to save. Like it's okay. Everybody should pay Big Brother what is owed. But there is a lot of things that people just don't realize they could write off and things like that as part of their business. And that's not okay for me. So I want to help people out there. So if anybody's listening, you guys can reach out to me. I'm sure Tracy will have my phone number, all that.
Oh, yeah. No, we'll have all that. And I also just want to say, so Lindsay, this is your first podcast, right?
Well, technically there was another one, but I don't know if that one really counts. I don't know. So, give me a second, I guess.
No, because it
Yeah,
wasn't with me. No, just
it wasn't
kidding.
with you.
Okay, so it was easy, right? This was fun.
This was
And
great. I had a great time.
okay, how about you do a podcast on exactly what you were going to do a class on?
Oh,
I could
okay.
I'll totally help you. If you decide that's something you want to do, it's really freaking easy. It seems like a lot because I do with our podcast, and I'm always telling realtors like so I do a mini bite in between. So I'll have a guest and then I'll do a mini bite. It's just me talking for like 5 minutes on whatever topic I'm feeling. And I have to do one this week. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do one on, I'm always telling realtors, to do a podcast. And they're always like, what would I do it on? And so I'm going to do that with my mini bite. But for you and for realtors, if you're doing a podcast, you can do it one of two ways, or you can do it three ways. I mean, there's a ton of ways, but do it like I do it, where you talk a little bit sometimes, and then maybe you have a guest every once in a while. I committed to having a system in place because I needed that in my life. But if that stresses you out because you're realtoring all day long and that's a lot of work, you can kind of just casually do it a couple times a month. But if you're just talking about, whatever it is that's on your brain about, you just got your S corp, you could talk about that with the realtors. And then you can like have your home inspector on, or like a lender, or, talk about the business, because people don't understand real estate. If they're thinking about buying a house, usually, obviously, if they're selling a house, they bought the house. So they've kind of been through the process, but it's so foreign. Like buying a house and selling is That's why you want a realtor, first of all. But talking about that process is everybody's interested. I mean, when you tell somebody you're a realtor, what do they do? They start asking you about it and, is now the time to buy or sell or whatever. So I don't know, Linz, I think you might need to do a podcast.
I think you're right. I think it might be. I think it's in my near future.
I'll totally help you with that. And I don't I have somebody doing all of our editing. Streamline Podcast is amazing. They're both entrepreneurs. They started this business and they realized that a lot of podcasts, what do they say? They go out to die. Basically, people start them and because you get stuck and you're like, I can't do the editing. I don't want to learn all this stuff. I just want to talk and then give it to someone to fix it and put it on, edit it, put it on the platform thingy. And that's what they do. So it's a lot easier to do podcasts these days than it used to be. I don't put it on YouTube or anything. I just do the audio. So I think I'll help you come up with a name and everything.
And that's a really good point, Tracy, is delegating. By the way, out there, your average is worth whatever, $200 an hour. So leverage yourself. So if you're not good at editing, have those people that are good at it. What are you good at? Realtoring or what, everybody's got what they're good at. So leverage your time. I think that's really important.
That's a really good point. I had to do that last year. I would run out to Oregon City to pick up a box of hoodies that we were waiting on or whatever. And I'm like, why am I doing that when I could pay a courier $12 to go and pick that up? Because I was like, oh no, I can just do it myself. But you start thinking about your time and money value. You're like, okay, I just charged myself $100 for doing that when I could have just paid someone to do it.
Yep. Brilliant.
It's a very good point. Okay, Linz, where can people find you? Thank you so much for being on. I'm so glad that you did this and that
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You were like, okay, I'm going to try something new.
All right. So you guys could call me. My cell is 503-810-1943 or culverhometeam.com. So it's CULVER hometeam.com.
Okay. And what about on your socials? What's your favorite social?
I'm an Instagram girl. So
Instagrammy.
Homes. That's mine. The @ symbol or handle. That's my handle, right? That's
my handle.
That's my handle.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're in the Tigard area. Where do you mostly do your business?
Yes. Well, we're referral based. So we're everywhere, but I grew up on the West Side in Portland. So over in Beaverton. So we Tigard, Beaverton, Aloha, we're West Side, but we go everywhere. We have clients. Actually, I'm going to be on a listing appointment. We're going to Troutdale on Thursday. So we go all over.
Yep, you do. All right, Lindsey, thank you for being on. Love ya.
Love you too. Thank you.